Welcome to Folding Towels, a podcast for massage therapists with Jackie and David. If you are enjoying our episodes and want to support the production, consider buying us a coffee. Your contributions help us bring you more insightful discussions and expert interviews. Follow the link in the show notes or visit buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towels podcast to contribute. And thank you for your support. Welcome back to another episode of the Folding Towers podcast. Thanks for joining us again, everyone.
Hello, everybody. We are so glad that you're here with us today.
What's happening with you, Jackie?
Oh, I have actually pulled my finger out and gone and got a whole bunch of massages, David,
Oh,
because everything hurts.
good on you. Not great that things are hurting. Good on you for being proactive.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm also considering acupuncture as well. I was talking to somebody about acupuncture yesterday, and it sounded
Ah,
like they were getting a lot out of it. And I'm now convinced that I must have some too. So that's going to
amazing.
happen soon.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
You've had acupuncture, have you?
I have been jabbed with all the little sharp things.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
surprisingly relaxing.
That's what my friend said to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you
No,
been up to, David?
I've taken a bunch of leave. So I've had a week off with my son. We've gone and camped in a rainforest and camped along the coast, and then we've just had a little coastal trip up to the Gold Coast and back.
You were showing me the photos from your camping trip and they were divine. You were in the middle of nature. You were out amongst the bush and it was just yeah, it looked so good.
Yeah, it was stirring up some strong emotions for me. My background, whilst I worked for the government, my background was in recreation and park planning. And I was remembering some of the studies that we partook in, including a quote by John Muir, who's a Scot who spent a lot of his time in America and was considered to be the father of the national parks movement. And he talked about um, people shouldn't hike in nature. And you think, oh, it's nature. We should go hiking in nature. He's like, no, you shouldn't hike in nature. You should amble. And there's that real
Oh,
distinction between going for distance and speed and trying to cover as much ground as possible and appreciation. And I'm totally on board with that.
that is such a great distinction. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
so
it.
as I brag about being on holiday, um
You're allowed to.
yeah, with my son, we'd only booked a few things, and one of those was an activity which had to be booked, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it. The rest of the holiday we just made up. And if we wanted to spend longer in a place, we did. And if we wanted to move on, then we did. And it just makes for such a different pace to being on a holiday when you're not under time pressure and the whole thing of well, you know that feeling. You come back from a holiday and think, oh, I'm so exhausted. I need another holiday to get over the holiday. It
Yes.
changes that pace, and it was truly relaxing.
That is so good. I'm so happy for you, David, that you got to do that. And yes, I know that feeling well.
Yeah. All right. So
Um,
today is a special episode because we had a special guest back on episode 69.
oh my gosh, we did. And honestly, the feedback we got from that episode was amazing. You guys loved the episode that we had with Ronna Moore so much that we have actually brought her back to talk more in depth with her about palliative massage.
Yeah, actually, we are recording this introduction after the interview because we got a bit lost and just found ourselves nodding along.
Oh my God, listening to Ronna is amazing. And she just has years of experience. She shared her amazing experiences and reflections on palliative massage. It was not only eye-opening, but deeply moving. And yeah, we just were like, absolutely gobsmacked. It was just so much information. Um, she really explored the impact of this work and some of the challenges that it presents, and also the incredible depth of human connection involved. And I think that's something that we kind of forget about in the minutiae of our lives, that this is a deeply connected activity, massage.
Yeah, yeah, sure is. It's a beautiful episode. And look, I've edited it since we recorded, and listening to it again, it's moving, and Ronna covers so much in depth about technical stuff, about the types of work that she's involved in, and what palliative care massage looks like and feels like, and the types of connections and why she loves it so much compared to what the traditional medical model is that a lot of the people in care are experiencing. So we were actually talking about some other things with Ronna, and we'll bring that to you in another a few weeks in another episode. So without any more delay, we're just going to cut straight into the interview with Ronna. I hope you enjoy this.
Enjoy.
Why did I move away from MSK into where I'm at now? And yes, there were life events, but I also think it fits much better with my worldview, how I think the
Mhm.
world is made up, how I think the world functions. So I really invite people to, reflect on that, to reflect on where they might sit. It might help people work out what kinds of populations they'd be happier working with.
We did mention in the previous episode with you very briefly values, and you almost touched on values that we hold, and that influencing the way that we see the world just then.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. I almost feel like I have fallen into an episode of The Good Place just now. I don't know if you've seen that. Oh, it's a wonderful show. It's very interesting, very quirky, but one of the main characters in the show is actually I'm going to get this wrong, probably a philosopher, and he talks about some of the stuff that you just talked about, and he's trying to teach one of the other characters about the ways of seeing the world, and are you a good person, are you a bad person? But yeah, some of the words that you used, he also used, and it's a
All right.
fantastically quirky show. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have a look at it. I'm very, very keen on quirky.
Yeah, I think you would like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll have a look. So, let me see. I think I actually did write something about that, but I think I might have already covered what I was going to say there. Yeah. So why don't we now turn our attention to palliative care? And I think David has given me some myths.
Yeah. It's quite a sensitive area to be working in. And I met a palliative care massage therapist and end of life massage therapist at a conference probably 6 years ago. Very gentle person, very beautiful man that he is, and he described some of the work. And I feel that one of the greatest threats to our own industry, and this is probably true of many industries, is ourselves and our views of other other therapists, and what they do and who they work with, because it doesn't fit with their own worldview. Because this man was asked some fairly toxic questions around do people die on your massage table, and how do you take payment from them, and why is the family, what are the families doing, and are you preying on people? Um, I guess they are valid questions, and he was able to answer quite humbly. But some of those myths are that I've come across. Um, First things like, well, it's not safe if someone is in the process of dying or is in end of life from a particular condition. Well, then massage might push them over the edge, or massage is purely only for pain relief. What value can you actually give to that person? And even that thought that, well, it's unnecessary or luxurious for a person who is in that stage of their life, and some who may find that or feel that massage is not essential. So how would you respond to those those feels and views?
Well, I think they're all views that come from lack of understanding and lack of knowledge, fundamentally. So let me just, first of all, perhaps a brief definition of what palliative care is to begin with. So we're clear about what we're talking about. There are some variations of the definition of palliative care, but they're very small variations. In general, the idea of palliative care is it's an approach to care for a person with a life-limiting illness, and it is directed towards symptom management and quality of life. So it is around reducing symptoms, the impact of symptoms, and they can be physical symptoms or psychological symptoms. And those psychological symptoms can also be issues of social matter, social concerns, emotional concerns, spiritual concerns. So it's, in other words, it's the whole person. Now, some of the ideas about palliative care arose from the work of Dame Cicely Saunders, who worked in a hospice, St Christopher's in the UK in the 1960s. And she was a nurse and a physician, a doctor, and a social worker. And she was working primarily with oncology patients. But she conceived of the idea of total pain. And what that means is really all that I've just said. It's physical, emotional, psychological, mental, behavioral, and spiritual pain. And that's the preserve, if you like. That's the landscape in which palliative care steps in. Palliative care can be introduced when a person is still receiving curative treatment. This is the model of the 21st century, if you like. It's called the bow tie model. And it means that someone, even shortly after they receive a diagnosis of a potentially life-limiting illness, which could be cancer, it could be MND, which may have poor prognosis, it's quite a useful thing to do to introduce the concept of palliative care at that point. Now, clearly, palliative care might be just in the background to some extent. Which will come clear as I describe more.
Can I interrupt for a second, Ronna? I think it might be helpful to give a comparison between palliative and hospice care, because I was reading something about this recently where people think that it's the same thing and that palliative care automatically means end of life, but as you just mentioned, it does not. And even I was confused for quite a while about this. So my understanding is hospice is relating to end of life, preparing for death, and palliative care can mean anything from the diagnosis. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, that in a sense is, it can vary depending on where you are, because in United States, for example, once people cease curative treatment and they go to hospice care and they'll be receiving palliative care, they can't bounce out again to have curative treatment, if you like. Hospice in Australia is generally a place for people who are suffering symptoms from their disease that may be progressive, and it may lead to end of life, but it's not necessarily associated with end of life. A lot of people do die in hospices, but some people, say in my previous experience at EPC and also where I've worked in a hospice, sometimes people come into hospice for symptom management and then they go home. Some people will not do that. They'll come into hospice and that's where they will die. That's where they'll be their last few weeks, possibly months, mostly weeks and days. So palliative care is not synonymous with hospice care. Hospice care is a component of palliative care. So a person going into hospice is receiving palliative care, but it's the setting, the hospice care implies that the progression of their disease is such that it is likely that they will die in the short term rather than the long term. At the way in Australia, referrals to a palliative care service, community-based palliative care service, which is where I previously worked. The rule of thumb there, the way triage works there, is if someone has a diagnosis, potentially life-limiting illness, and it's expected, or it wouldn't be a surprise if, and that's the way it's worded, if the person died within 12 months, then they can come onto our program. So it's quite a long stretch, and in fact, that is so malleable. I have had clients at that service who I saw for 4 years, because prognosis is really tricky. Some people with MND, for example, depending on the kind of MND they have, may have a really rapid decline, and some people don't. So palliative care is, as I said, it can be commenced while a person's still having curative treatment. And if the disease is progressing and curative treatment is withdrawn, and they're possibly, that surprise question means that it's likely possible that they may die within 12 months, then they can come and be supported by a community palliative care service. So I just want to quickly go back to the other elements of PAL care, is that it doesn't, some of the other, there's the blankets or the main paragraph of the definition, and then there are several points under. One of those is palliative care does not hasten or prolong life. The unit of care, this is really important in PAL care, the unit of care, in other words, the focus for the care is the person with the illness, but also their carer, their primary informal carer. And that'll be a parent, a partner, a child, a best friend. Sometimes people don't have a person that they could nominate as their carer, but generally speaking, the role of palliative care is to embrace that group. So the focus is not only on the person with the illness, but also the carer. Pallier, the word palliative, pallier, comes from to wrap around. And I think Balfour Mount, a Canadian physician, introduced that concept. And that's a good way of thinking about it, because there are different levels of palliative care. There's the palliative approach. Now, the palliative approach has been introduced progressively and hopefully even more into residential aged care facilities, for example. So that means you come with the mindset of taking into account all those contextual things, and the carer, the family, and your goal is to support the quality of life of that person. That's the palliative approach. And the people in the residential, the providers in the residential care facility, for example, will be nurses and allied health assistants, and they won't necessarily have any specialist training in PAL care, but they'll have that purview, if you like. The next level is general palliative care or palliative care, and this is often what might be available to you particularly if you live in regional areas or rural areas, where the palliative care is provided by the GP, could be nurses in the local hospital if they're so lucky to have one. So again, the providers might not necessarily have specialist skills in palliative care. Specialist palliative care is the domain of bringing together all the health professionals who can address the wide range of symptoms and support quality of life. And that's what the community's, the specialist palliative care service, I keep stumbling over the description, I'll just say EPC. And there are other ones of that kind in Melbourne and elsewhere in Australia. That's what they provide. So that means that people who come onto our program, they are there because they have complex needs, which means they need specialist attention. And so the massage therapists are specialist palliative care massage therapists. What does that mean? The key to palliative care outside general palliative care or palliative care approach is it's interdisciplinary teamwork. So it means that each team member, each each discipline brings their skills in order to address the wide range of symptoms. Now, to give you an idea, the referral indicators at all the places that I work at, including oncology, actually, they could have up to 15 referral indicators. And they will be pain, anxiety, nausea, constipation, shortness of breath, existential distress, social isolation, peripheral neuropathy, dystonia, muscle dystonia. There's lots. There's more. I will have missed some out. But that's the kind of thing that a massage therapist could be referred to address. And they won't be doing that in isolation. They'll be doing that with the team. Everybody is bringing their skills to bear to support the person and their carer to have the best possible life that they can while they are still with us. And that's palliative care. I'll give you an example. Can I give you an example? Let's say, imagine I've just been, someone's been referred to me in my team. I receive a referral for a person. Let's say it's a woman. She's 40 years old. She has GBM, which is a brain tumor. And she's been referred to me for pain and anxiety. So what do I do next? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the things that all massage therapists do. I'm going to apply what I think of as the massage therapy taxonomy. I'm going to do some inquiry. I'm going to do an assessment, and I'm going to do some clinical reasoning, and I'm going to do some treatment planning, and then I'm going to do some more assessment maybe. I might do some education. I might do some forward care, forward planning. So that's kind of what it'll look like, but it has some variations in it because of our client population. Is that the kind of thing that you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so.
with every visit.
Yes. So now part of my inquiry is that because we have access to the medical records, I will go into the person's file and I'll be looking at a whole range of things. I'll be looking at, first of all, I'll possibly look at all the scores. So what are my MINDA scores? Everybody will have assessments, and there'll be an ESAS assessment, what we call an ESAS assessment, which is symptom assessment. So it's a mark. It's a mark out of 5 or 10, whatever it is. Some of them are different. So that'll have a whole list, the ESAS, which stands for the Edmonton Symptom Assessment Scale, and it'll have pain, anxiety, shortness of breath, nausea, constipation, a list of stuff. And there'll be a score. So anything that comes up red, I'm going to pay attention to. Once it gets to a certain mark, it comes up red as a flag. So I'm going to quickly look at all those scores. Karnofsky's another one, ADL, so the person's capacity with their ADL, so activities of daily living I'll be looking at. So I should have, given the referral was for pain and anxiety, there should be red bars on her file. If not, I've got to pay attention to that for reasons that will become clear. And then I'm also looking at the details of her prognosis, when it was, her past history, what other elements in her past may impact. She might be diabetic or, it could be anything. So I take a note of those. And then I'm going to be looking at things like the environment. Does she have children? Are they school age? Does she have a carer who lives with her? What's her circumstances, and getting a general drift of her circumstances. I'm going to read the progress notes, what's been happening the last week or so from all the other providers that have been in there, from the rest of the team. So that's all. I'm doing that, and it probably takes about 5-10 minutes to do all that. But also, that's part of the inquiry, but sitting behind that inquiry is all the knowledge I have about GBM, all the in my head. What are the kinds of things that happen to somebody who has a progressive disease? And GBM is usually staged straight away at stage 4 because it's very progressive. So it's likely, is she still mobile? Is she still talking? Is, what else is going on for her? And so I assemble all that information, and I probably missed something, but then I go to the house. I work it out time to go. And then when I arrive, and this will bounce back into my self-care practice, but what I'm doing as I'm going towards the house is I'm setting an intention for the day. What am I doing here? And that, and also, I'll explain later exactly what I'm doing when I get there. But I also need to know, does she speak English, for example? Is it the case that I need to take my shoes off when I enter the house? Is there a dog in the house? All sorts of things like that. So then I'm in the house, and what I'm doing quickly is making an assessment of the environment. What's the mood like? What's the tone like? What's the furniture like? Where's the massage going to take place? Is the person now in a wheelchair but wants to have, and we later work out that the massage will be really good to provide on the bed, then is this person safe to transfer? Or is there already a hoist in the house? So we are trained to move people with slide sheets and hoists. Hoist are a two-person lift, so I need somebody else in the house. She's unlikely to be alone in the house. And also on that point, we so rarely, I reckon in 12 years, I used a massage table maybe half a dozen times. Generally speaking, we provide the massage to the person wherever they are when we arrive, unless they're super safe to transfer themselves or with assistance, and not only transfer to wherever they're going, but also from there. I had a big lesson once in my private practice where a person, she had cancer, she was very unwell, and she really wanted to have a massage, mostly to feel like a normal person, is the way she put it to me, by lying on a table face down in a prone position. And I acceded to that request. And it was a mistake. It was a really bad mistake, because not only did she experience a lot of pain, it gives me a cold sweat even when I think about it now, actually, but then she could not get off, and she was in such pain. It was just horrendous. So I think, generally speaking, it was a lot of lessons for me there. But in general, we're looking at persons being really safe and comfortable. And then we figure out how we're going to proceed. And all this time, what I'm doing, as well as assessing the environment, I'm really tuning into where this person is at and developing as quickly as I possibly can a sense of trust with that person. And that's where the skills of therapeutic relationship establishment become absolutely key. So that's where my energy is going, in those two fields, if you like, working out the pragmatics, but also the practicalities, but also working very hard, but calmly and quietly, making contact with that person. The actual details of the practice, there's a couple of models that I follow. Different massage therapists will have different ways of approaching it. There's lots of models of care. Massage therapy doesn't have a lot of models of care. In fact, very few. But the ones that I follow are theory of comfort, which is actually a nursing model of care, established by a woman called Catherine Kolkaba. And it consists of 3 levels. It's relief, ease, transcendence. So that's what I'm aiming for. That's guiding my process. The other model, which is developed by a massage therapist researcher in New Zealand, a very impressive work she does. I'm just mad about her. She's one of my heroes, human heroes. And her model is care, contact, connection, comfort. So they're the things that I'm sort of trying to cultivate while I'm there, and they're the things that I'm focused on. So relief. So what was the issue? Yesterday it was pain. That's why I got the referral. But today their pain is not there, mainly because it was a pain spike. Nursing and the physician worked out changing medication. So the pain is now okay. It's likely, as a result of that pain, that there may be constipation, perhaps not yet because it was only yesterday, but constipation usually follows a change in opiate titration. So that could be the issue. Anxiety. She's not quite as anxious now because the pain they often come together. And we know that, like, the anxiety ramps up, the pain ramps up, the pain ramps up, the anxiety ramps up. They go together, you know. But she's also feeling extremely sad today. She's tearful. She's extremely tearful and distressed. So that's my focus today. I inevitably will try to lay my hands upon a person from the crown of their head to the soles of their feet, unless there's specific reasons why I can't do that. As to the person who said, David, going back to your myth about safety, in oncology massage and palliative care massage, we say there are very, very few people we can touch, very few. Mostly, it's around modifying how you touch somebody and where you touch them and your intention. Like, what are you doing? So for most people, it's around, and this applies to my oncology work as well, there'll be a symptom, a specific symptom or quality of life issue. But my overarching goal is driven, if you like, by those models that I talked about, and also the recognition that just about everybody I see, everybody I encounter, is uncomfortable in their own body. Some of them have been uncomfortable in some way since the day they received their diagnosis. And then what happens after a diagnosis? They have a series of tests, which some of them are painful. They are bracing themselves against those tests. Then they have surgery. They might have chemotherapy. They might have radiotherapy. They may have catheters inserted. They may have PICC lines inserted. Their bodies are under assault. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to remember that. And that my mother said to me when she was unwell with cancer and dying of cancer, she said, my body is no longer my friend. And I actually use that quite a lot to kind of try to, when somebody's struggling, to explain to me what it is, where is their distress coming from. Sometimes, depending on the situation, I might put that there as, well, is it like this? And often people will say, it's exactly what it feels like. I am not happy, or not happy, not comfortable in my own body. And that's our home. That's where we live. So massage therapy has an incredibly a valuable role in promoting a sense of comfort, facilitating for a person an environment in which their body can find some comfort. So we are looking at, it's really quite, it's in a way, it's quite profound, I think. And I'd also like to say that I know some people are, referring back to your question around why didn't I do sports or MSK, I think the work with high performance athletes, for example, you are on the edge because you're trying to get them to be able to be the fastest they can be at 100 meters or whatever it is. I think that what palliative care massage therapists and oncology massage therapists do, they work with high performance human beings because many of the people we encounter are at the very edge of their capacity. But their capacity is not to run 100 meters, it's to get through the day. It's to wake up for another day, to endure another round of chemotherapy, whatever it might be. And I feel like for that reason, we are high performance providers. But it requires a lot of knowledge and skills. The skills of massage are not the main thing. Anybody who has done any relaxation massage training or remedial massage training can do massage for people who are suffering the consequences of an illness. You don't need anything special. MLD is helpful. DNM is helpful. But MFR is helpful. There's lots of them. I use lots and lots of different techniques, as do all the massage therapists. We have different ways of using them. The pressure might be a lot more gentle in some situations, not always, but sometimes. And that's our job, is to figure out how and what we can do it, what we can do. And mind you, we do this totally in collaboration with the person with whom we are working, if you like. It is a collaborative practice. And the other thing about this session, if you like, could be quite short, might only be 10 minutes. This idea of being, an hour on the table just does not apply in our work at all. A little bit in my oncology work in the Wellbeing Centre, not on the wards, but in the Wellbeing Centre, it can be a little bit like that. But it's so different. And often we provide massage through clothing because it's just too hard for people to expose their skin. To get dressed in the morning can sometimes take people 2 hours. We're not going to be saying have to unpack all that. So it's really meeting the person where and how they are on that day. It's very intense work. I think that's where the mindfulness practice, which I might have time to talk about a bit, but comes in very handy, because you have to concentrate very much with, you can't be planning dinner or thinking about your missed holiday, or because you're really paying attention to things like respiration, temperature, color. There's an argument going on next door between the children or the husband, or there's so much going on. You have to be totally there, totally present. It's really beautiful work. It's actually, I find it quite sacred work, and it's constantly rewarding. You're stepping into these environments where people, I think you used the word tender before, David, and that's quite right. It is a very tender time, and lots of things arise. There could be extreme distress, there could be frustration, there could be anger, there could be all sorts of things like that. But there can also be joy, gratitude, kindness. I learned so much from being with people who are dying. It teaches you how to live. I don't know that I've taken on all the lessons that I could have, but that is one of the beauties of the work, that you learn from people.
It's very Tuesdays with Murray.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Actually, that book annoyed me a little bit, but you're quite right. Yeah, it is like that. Yeah, it is like that. And as for people, the benefits, we have to recognise that for massage therapy at EPC, for example, it's been in place for nearly 20 years, that program. There are 6 therapists. This is in a tight budget area. There's not a lot of money to go around in health services, but that program is absolutely essential. And when when I say essential, we did work all the way through COVID. The Palcare community-based services were just granted. We all went around with our little work permits in Melbourne, and we worked all the way through. We did make some modifications, particularly for infection control, but N95 fitting and all that sort of stuff. But there was only a very brief time, I think, when we actually were pulled off the road, as was everybody actually, except the nurses. But the other thing about what we do is we have it so lucky, massage therapists, because we are focused on comfort and well-being. Other practitioners in oncology and palliative care are dealing with really tough things. They're giving bad news. They are inserting painful things into people. They are challenging their dignity by giving them enemas, for example. They're strapping their heads into those horrible helmets that the people have MRIs to. So they're doing, and people brace themselves to get through that. The effort required to get through all those things I find amazing. That's why when we step in, we are the antidote to that. And it might only be for today. Mm-hmm. It may last till tomorrow or the next day, but it's very valuable. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I absolutely love about my job. Everyone's happy to see a massage therapist. Like 99.9% of people are like, I'm so excited. And I actually do work with aged care clients as well in their homes. And some of those things that you were describing, I absolutely do every time, and some of my clients are like, you're here. I forgot you were coming. How could you forget me?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But they love you. They love seeing you, and they love the comfort and the joy that you bring. And you can just chat with them about, their family, and just bring some normalcy back to them for half an hour, which is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely right, Jackie. Yeah, that's true.
Look,
Yeah.
I love the description that you've given about your mode of care, or the reasons why you are with that person, and how that is so different to those who are in more of the prescriptive dosing medical side of care. But coming back to the definition of palliative care, where you talk about it's palliative care is there for the person in need as well as the carers or the people in their environment. Well, that needs to extend to yourself as well. And so, how do therapists practice self-care? It is an emotionally charged environment. And how do you take care of your own physical, emotional, and spiritual self?
Yes, well, that's a really important thing. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy.
Yes.
Or suffer burnout, which is even worse. So I think, look, I just want to mention one other thing about the work we do in oncology, massage, and palliative care. To work in that space, you have to have a real appreciation. This comes back to wonder about what happens to bodies, what happens to humans when their body is deteriorating. So, and that's also said we have it easy in some ways. Like, for example, you might encounter fungating wounds, but they're usually covered when we encounter them. But nevertheless, you are dealing with bodies that are deteriorating, and that can be very challenging sometimes. How do massage therapists manage? I think each therapist will have their own particular way of coping. My strategies are usually around I have a lot of guides. The way that I enter the space is really determined a lot by thinking of Frank Ostaseski, who describes it as you bring your whole self to the experience, but you have to find a place of rest in the middle. And I really carry that with me, so that when I enter somebody's home, or somebody comes into my room, or I'm walking into somebody in the ward, I am preparing myself. Remember before I said I settle an intention when I'm going into a house or approaching a person. I set an intention, and that's a protective intention for me, so that I've got clarity around what I'm doing there. Why am I here? That's really important. I think it's important for all sorts of reasons. But and then the other thing I'm doing is I'm transforming myself into a swan, and the swan is the calm on the top and frantic activity going on underneath. And the frantic activity is, like Jackie was saying, you're going into a person's home and you're sorting out where you're going to do things, and there's a dog barking at you and blah, blah. And what am I doing here? What am I going to do? So there's that all activity, but on the top, and that calmness is around down regulating my nervous system. So I'm focusing on doing that as I'm coming into the house. So I'm really focusing on my breathing. Some people might use the term grounding. I'm really grounding myself. And I find it very, if for some reason I'm running late and I don't do these practices, I find it very discombobulating, and I can come out of there feeling like I've just been whacked around. So that preparation is self-care. It's around establishing myself in a steady place, in a steady state. And I think that also enables me to also establish a steady state in the other person. So what I'm trying to do is create a still point in a turning world, my turning world and the person's turning world. And so that's really important to me. And the way that I do that is really to bring into play all my mindfulness practices. And meditation, it can be a formal thing, sitting on the cushion doing lengthy practices, but it can also be, and more importantly, it's an informal practice which you are doing all the time. And
Yeah.
so I'm constantly doing those practices. I'm just, it's really, I'm not doing it right now because I actually feel quite settled now. But if I found myself really, if my voice came up a bit high or I could feel something in my tummy, I would then start doing some of those practices. So that to me is my foundation of self-care. And that enables me to do what I do. Now, there's a whole lot of other ingredients in that. There's a lot of training, my meditation practice. I do go to an annual retreat every year for a silent retreat for a while, just to kind of check in. But generally speaking, that's just an ongoing practice. The other things I've done is a lot of professional development, trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing, compassion cultivation training, anything that sort of supports the safe practice is really interesting to me and valuable. So I think there is all the normal stuff that you do in self-care. There's I should go. So what do I do when I leave a house? So I'm going into a house, I've got the intention, I'm grounded, I'm down-regulated, I'm open to all that arises. And as Cindy says in the book, Palliative Touch, it's Joan Halifax actually said, our job is to stay in the seat. So our job is to stay stable for whatever arises. And that leaves us open to make choices and decisions. So when we can unfold that when we leave. So what I do when I leave a house is I immediately it's a version of the Gibbs reflective cycle, but I say, and often I'll be doing this, I'm getting into the car and looking to see where I've got to go next. What just happened? Fundamentally, it's like, what just happened? What was good? What was not so good? And there's also the information I'm taking back to the team about what I've learned or what I've seen. There's that filed away. But yeah, what just happened? And what was good? What was not so good? What might I do next time? What's important for me to know about this experience? And that is a way for me to bring it out of my emotional self, if you like, and bring it into my cognitive sphere. And that enables me to just walk away. Now, sometimes it's hard to walk away because there could be a lot of sadness in the house. It could be the last time you see that person. It's going to be the last time you see that person. Yeah. So there might be a lot of that. And, how you deal with that, you have to recognize that it's there and allow it to be there, but also nurture yourself. This is the RAIN principle, really, Tara Brach, what I've just said, I've just realized. And nurture yourself through that. Like it's very sad. I feel sad. I might cry. Cal Cates, they always say, don't be the first person in the room to cry. Like it's just handy if everyone else is crying and you're not the first one to kind of burst into tears.
God, how do you manage that? That's really hard sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yes, I do feel, tears forming in your eye. It just happens, it's a physiological response. But the job is to really find a way of managing that, to fold that into who you are and how you work. And then there's all the other stuff around, well, I've mentioned PD, it's important. For me, a mindfulness practice is extremely important. There are some other avenues, you try and have as good a life as possible. I'm going to watch, what's it called? The Good Place. Do stuff to it. And I've got lots of things that I love to do out there in the world. Won't be going to the grand final to cheer on my team, but there we are. It's nourishing yourself as much as possible. That's really it. And it's a bit like what I say to some of my clients or patients. If they have a lot of pain, and that pain is not going to go, pain signs or not, pain from a tumor that's progressing and moving through your body, that pain is going to be very hard to wind the dial down. Massage can do that a little bit, but it's not going to take it away, nor is the medication in some cases. So what I say to people is, okay, take the Buddhist notion of salt. And if you have a teaspoon of salt, it's intolerable unpalatable. Is that the word? Unpalatable.
Unpalatable, yes.
But if you put it in a glass of water, if you put it in a bath of water, then you can sip from it and it's okay. And that's what I say about people's experience with pain. Just throw a whole lot of stuff at it, a massage, something funny, warmth, a dog, just load up that bath with other stuff. And it can just turn the dial down a bit. The other key thing, I think, is actually if you work with a health service, generally speaking, you have the advantage of receiving supervision. In fact, it's a requirement. At the cancer centre I work at, one of the things that I had to tick in my credentialing being accredited was, and then I have to each year say, I am getting supervision. I get in-house supervision, it's group supervision there. At other places, it can be one-on-one supervision. Supervision has a particular meaning in health services, which therapists might not be familiar with, but it actually isn't about supervising your work and you didn't do that technique very well or whatever. It's actually around an opportunity to share what you have done, what you're struggling with, to debrief what might be a better way to proceed, to if you've had a really difficult session with somebody, difficult in any sort of way, then you have an opportunity to unpack that. So supervision is really important, and you can access it privately, but unfortunately it's very expensive. But so in lieu of supervision, then it's around other therapists that you might link up with. The podcast is almost a form of that, or linking with a mentor, linking with your original teacher or whatever, linking up with other therapists so you can have these experiences of sharing and supporting each other in what can be really challenging work. Yeah, I think that's it. Self-care. Does that sound like I'm looking after myself?
Oh, yes.
Comprehensively.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the goals of this podcast is around the questions that you had in massage school that were just never answered, and self-care. We had a couple of hours, in an entire diploma on self-care, and that was just how to look after your hands so your hands don't get injured.
Yeah.
And that was it. Nothing about the gamut of people that you'll meet in your life, the types of things you'll be exposed to. It was purely that physiological thing of maintaining your tools, and our most important tool being, mind and soul.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And that's why in the book, Jackie, when you start reading the book, self-care is chapter 2, because we often in self-care it's kind of tacked on to the end.
Yeah.
But Cindy was very particular, and I totally agree with her that it should be at the front of the book, because you need to be able to you bring yourself to your work, so yourself has to be in as good a frame of mind and body as possible. And there are elements of self-care around working in palliative care that can be tricky. For example, because we work mostly with people in beds or wheelchairs or recliners or whatever, then there's lots of mechanical stuff. But I actually find that a little bit boring because it's so obvious. Like, so I am more interested in the psychological, emotional, spiritual self-care stuff. But it's true, you do have to take care of your body. That's important. But it's the other stuff that's going to enable you to survive and keep sharing yourself in this way. Yeah.
I agree. For those people listening who are not aware of what book that Ronna is talking about, it's called Palliative Touch. It's by Cynthia Spence. Now, this book is only a year or two old. This is really new.
It came out. I think it's actually not quite a year yet. I think we I can't remember. I think it came out in November.
Yeah. And we have I always forget how to say this word, as forwards. Introductions in the book by Gal McDonald, who a lot of people would probably recognise that name, but also Madeline Kirchhoff, who I recognise from when I started but didn't finish my aromatherapy qualification.
Okay.
She is from Europe and is a wonderful aromatherapist and also works a lot in palliative care. So I knew that name when I bought
Oh,
the book, and I
good.
was like, oh, this will be really interesting. And I'm actually going to do a book review on this book. We have book review coming up because it was so interesting. So I won't talk much about it now, but Ronna has contributed to this book. And honestly, for anybody working in oncology, in palliative care, with older folks, within the aged care system, it's invaluable, particularly if you are not already working in this field or these fields and you would like to, you're considering working with aged clients or in the oncology field. I would recommend purchasing this book. It's just, even just glancing through it, I've learned so much.
There'll be a
It was
link in the
just,
show notes.
there will be, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Cindy's a fantastic oh, she's a fantastic person. She was awarded the Irene Smith Award. This is part of the Society for Oncology Massage, the International Society for Oncology Massage. She was the recipient of that award last year, which was just so well deserved. And she's been working in this field for quite a while. And it also is true that she mostly works in hospice because the United States is a little bit different. So it's a lot of end of life care.
Yeah.
And that definition issue that we talked about before really played a lot in our conversations because our
Right.
care is slightly different than the United States. But in any case, all the beautiful chapters in there really will apply to those people you pointed out, Jackie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those areas that I mentioned, the aged care, working with elderly folks, oncology, massage, palliative care, within Australia, I'm not sure about other countries, but definitely within Australia, those are growing areas of work for massage therapists. Like, those are growing fields, and there's so much more need because people who are getting older and have maybe not worked for 10 years or so, but they're getting older and they're still, contributing, looking after grandkids, doing all sorts of things. They're like, how can I look after my body now? And so instead of only having, healthy 20, 30, 40-year-olds come to see us, we're now getting folks in their 50s, 60s, 70s who are coming in for their massages all the time.
That's
It's,
great. Really great.
yeah,
Aged care is not my area of expertise, but in oncology and palliative care. I mean, oncology, there are estimates about 1.5 million people in Australia living with a diagnosis of cancer, because cancer survivorship is a really big thing because our treatments are improving. So there's the gap between mortality and morbidity is really growing. So I think that's the right way of putting it. But that means there's a big role for people who have some oncology massage training in particular, because there's a lot of people out there who are still living with even they're in survivorship, but they are still living with the impacts of not only the disease itself, but the treatments for the disease.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where another growth field with manual lymphatic drainage or even DLT is also like, because as you said, people have had a cancer diagnosis 10 years ago, but they still have lymphedema. So, they're still going for lymphatic sessions with their therapist. So, yeah. And just to qualify this for you, there is quite a lot of overlap in all of the things that you were talking about with oncology, massage, and palliative care with the aged care field.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
Yeah. The only real significant difference, not issue, is that they are mostly in their own homes in Australia because we have funding for the aged care system. And a lot of them are healthy-ish,
Yes.
still aging, and some do definitely have cancer and other complicated health issues. But you're not specifically seeing people that only have cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
So hopefully that made sense. I think I said that a little bit wrong.
Made perfect sense to me, Jackie.
So for the therapist who may be considering, after listening today, exploring a potential career in palliative care, where could they start?
Yeah, it's tricky because at the moment we don't have any. I keep saying it's tricky. Things are tricky, but in Australia there is no. Oh, hang on. There, I think Jill Jackson, who's a colleague of mine, was a colleague of mine at EPC, does, I think, still have a palliative care massage course in Melbourne. I should have checked that before I came on air. That's the potential, but and I believe one of the oncology massage training programs, OMT. This might be announcing too fast, but I know they are working on reintroducing. They had a PAL Care course for a while, or some time ago, and they will go down that path as well to develop a new course. Other than that, training can be, I think, if you've done oncology massage, that will be very beneficial. In fact, I'd highly recommend it because even though they're not exactly the same, I'd say in PAL care, in specialist palliative care anyway, possibly about 70%, 60, 70% around there of patients, clients will have cancer as their illness experience, as their illness. And the others are made up with, systemic diseases, heart, lung, liver, and there's the neurological ones, MND, multisystem atrophy, and a few others. Ghastly. They're all ghastly anyway. So if oncology massage will prepare you to work with palliative care patients, clients, I think doing lots of reading and also what I said before around the PD, I think it's really important. Things like mental health first aid, trauma-informed care, these are very valuable for one's own sense of comfort in an area which can be very discomforting. Care search I mentioned before, mindful a couple of things that I've done. I'm actually a mindful self-compassion teacher. Mindful self-compassion is a good one to do. Compassion cultivation training, even though you might think you've got stacks of compassion. How you're managing that compassion is really important to avoid burnout and to enable you to be in the space over and over again. I think one of the things I would like to say that I didn't say before, that the thing that guides me with coming into contact with people in distress, and most of the people I encounter are in distress in one form or another, is the person-centered care approach by Carl Rogers. And that has three foundations. And they are, if I can remember them, authenticity, unconditional positive regard. And for some reason, I've forgotten the third one. But they are all, that's what you have to bring to the space all the time. So I just thought I'd throw that in because it's really important to be strong within yourself. I think that speaks to barriers actually, because people talk a lot about barriers. And in Cindy's book, we talk about barriers needing to flex and bend, but you can only allow them to flex when you yourself are really centrally grounded. So whatever PD you do, if it feeds into that, then that'll be a very beneficial thing if you want to walk down this path. Yeah.
We will try as hard as we can to put as many links and websites to some of this wonderful information that you've given us, Ronna, in the show notes. So hopefully we can put all of them in there if we can find them.
I'm definitely looking in my computer, the other computer, to see what the third arm of the person's coach is. I can't believe this is what happens when you're 70. Your brain just goes dead.
You've given us so much information though, Ronna. Sorry. It's a wonder you're still conscious. Like you probably need a cup of tea and some lunch right now.
You might need more than a cup of tea after I just went blah.
Look, I've recently completed some training with Walt Fritz, who does a lot of work. Yeah, and
are you going to do the speechy stuff, the throat stuff, or not?
I have an interest in that area, so I've just undertaken 10 hours of training, just dipping my toe in the water.
Oh, excellent! That's exciting.
one of the things that I really took away from his introductory course was going further down the path of consent.
Oh,
And
yeah.
within the medical model, all sorts of things happen. We'll be told the types of things that will need to happen to us. And even speaking from experience of having life-saving surgery, which I don't regret because I'm still alive. But the body doesn't necessarily give consent, even though you may verbally and mentally have given that. And in his training, he's talking about, okay, I'll, I will describe to you the types of things that I'd like to do with you. Are you okay with that? Okay, now I'm placing my hands in the places where I've said that I'll do that. Does that feel therapeutic? Can you feel the change? Pick up my hand and move it to where you want it to be. I was just about in tears with
Yeah.
this description of involving the person in their care
Mm.
for them to get the best possible outcome in the way that they want to experience it.
Yeah, I actually do something similar to that too. I think it's really important to have, especially when someone's so vulnerable, and they have had no agency for
Mm,
ages. You know, they've once they get that diagnosis, whatever it is, they're on a bit of a train. And yes, they can make choices along the way, but sometimes those choices are really, they can't make a choice really. Um, so giving people agency, I think, is really important. So he does
mm,
that beautifully.
yeah.
And that's why you need to concentrate so much when you're doing work with very vulnerable people, to make sure that every move you make, you know, think about how saturated our skin is with neurons.
Mm,
Every single move you make, even a millimeter, is giving information, and it might be aversive for the person. It might be
mm,
just, you know, so yeah, that's great, David. That's exciting. Yeah.
yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Right. I think we better bring this episode to a close. It has been mammoth. I've
Yeah.
taken away a lot from this episode again, personally and selfishly. Thank you so much for your time today, Ronna.
Oh,
And
it's I'll probably worn you out.
Not selfishly, David. No, absolutely. Absolutely not. We are also massage therapists. We're learning as well. And I agree. I've taken away a lot from chatting with you, Ronna. It's been just wonderful.
That's good. That's
mm,
good.
well, if you
I've
like what
enjoyed
we are
it.
doing here on the Folding Towers podcast, perhaps you've taken something away from this episode too, and maybe you've got some ideas about what you would like to hear yourself. Please get in contact with us. You can do so through our Facebook page, through Instagram, even by visiting our website and hitting the Contact Us button. We'd love to hear from you. And it helps us to bring you the type of content that you would like to hear as well. While you're at it, why not hit the like and subscribe button in your favorite podcast listening app so that you are notified and never miss an episode?
I honestly don't even know what to say, David. I'm just blown away by all of today. I've just spent the whole hour nodding and nodding and nodding. And all I want to say is, guys, please share with your friends. If you love today's episode, please let your other massage therapist friends or bodyworker friends know. We just love hearing positive feedback, and we just really want to spread the joy and love that is massage therapy. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Ronna, for coming on the show.
Oh, you're most welcome. All the best, guys. It's fun. It made me think a bit, which is good.
Well, thank you for your time. We will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.